Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dirty Martini. I hope you're doing well and I hope you're having an amazing day. I had an extremely terrible shift today. It was 8 hours. I barely had 15 minutes of break during those 8 hours, and I am simply exhausted. It was just today like an extremely overwhelming shift, and I just need to decompress by simply ranting. I need to complain to get it out of my chest and then be able to live freely knowing that I have complained, because nothing gives me the feeling of freedom as complaining and gossiping do. And boy, do I have complaining to do. I am currently curled up in my bed, shivering under my duvet. But don't worry, I will tell you all about it. And it is actually complaining that I have to do that's about very serious things. And it's complaining about things that I have had to deal with for years on end, and things that I will apparently have to deal with for years on end in the future as well, because the people who are responsible for this, and the people who should be held accountable, and the people who I'm trying to hold accountable, and the people who I'm trying to make pick up the pieces after themselves, are simply not showing up and putting it all on me and telling me to simply suck it up. Let me start by saying that if I sound differently today, no, you're not crazy. And no, you're not being gaslit. I am sick. So the other day I woke up to one of the most annoying things someone can wake up to. And this time I'm not referring to my neighbors who are continuing with the reconstruction from 8 until 5 and making my room an unlivable space because of all this noise. I am talking about waking up and realizing that it is extremely painful to swallow. It is at this moment that you know things are going downhill. I have a cold right now, and neither of my nostrils is usable at this point. But this is what I get for saying that I'm not a mouth breather last week. Now I literally have no other choice but to be a mouth breather. So let this episode act as a reminder that if you are currently able to breathe through your 2 nostrils, or however many nostrils you have, I don't know, like different people exist. So if you're able to breathe through your nostrils, appreciate it. Because I feel like we're not grateful enough and take for granted so much the fact that we're able to just breathe properly. Like, my nose is so stuffed right now that if God forbid someone was to kidnap me and tape my mouth, I would simply die because I am unable to breathe through my nose, even if my life depended on it. So if your nose is not stuffed, if it doesn't hurt when you swallow, appreciate it. Say a little prayer, say a little thank you, and just be grateful. And I got sick for a very annoying reason. Well, it was rather a combination of a few things. First of all, I would say that all the stress and all the lack of sleep that I've been enduring for the past 2 months have really lowered the threshold of my immune system. They have weakened my immune system because also I've been eating terribly. Let's leave the lack of sleep and the stress to the side. Those are a given at this point, unfortunately. But the thing is, I really have been eating terribly. I feel too stressed and I feel like I'm too time pressured and have no time to actually cook something nutritious for myself. So most of the times I just make pasta or instant noodles, and as much as I love them because they're tasty, they're not good for me. Or at least not at the quantity that I have been consuming for the past month. I'm trying my best to include vegetables and fruit in my diet, but sometimes I admit it. And I know it's terrible, but I just grab the easier thing, which is the already prepared thing from the supermarket. And that is why not only is my immune system lowering, but is my metabolism slowing down and I am gaining weight. It is also very noticeable on my skin. I have a lot more blemishes, my skin is dry and very lifeless and dull. And it's not making me feel great, as you can imagine. I mean, not only does it affect my self-esteem, but surprisingly not to the level that it usually does, so maybe there's some improvement there, but it also is making me feel physically not okay. Like, it is affecting my physical well-being in the sense that I just feel very heavy. I don't know, I don't have a better word in my vocabulary to explain it, and I cannot wait to actually get back into a routine and be able to take care of myself and of my body. And when I say I feel heavy, I don't mean only, I don't mean in particular the couple of kilograms that I have put on. I just feel like my body is weighing me down. I cannot explain. It's not about the actual weight that I have, that I'm talking about. It's about the way I feel. Does that make sense? I don't know, it just feels so terrible that recently I have been lacking in this aspect. And yes, I only have myself to blame. But also sometimes I purely don't have the time to cook something. And I feel like nobody warned me about this when I became an adult. And it is something which is so significant and should be talked about because no one actually was transparent with me about how much time of your life in adulthood goes into choosing what you want to eat, then to go grocery shopping, then actually preparing that food, to just then eat it in literally less than 5 minutes. I swear, cooking is a scam because it's like a time casino. And please don't tell me to try and meal prep to be able to eat better and be time efficient throughout the week. I have thought about this many times. Now let me tell you why it won't work in my particular case. The problem is, I share a fridge with 4 people. And it is a medium-sized fridge. Everybody gets a shelf that is 10 centimeters tall. And maybe I would say 30 centimeters to 40 centimeters long. So you cannot fit as much as you can imagine. Particularly like if you meal prep, that's a lot of Tupperware that's going in it. So like you cannot meal prep to a stage that is actually worth meal prepping. It's just logistically, I'm unable to meal prep because there is no way for me to store that food anywhere. This is honestly one of my biggest dreams, to have my own fridge, my own full-sized fridge. And I'm just now thinking this still is an upgrade because in my first year, I used to share a mini fridge with 4 people. So back then, it was even worse. Back then, it was a single cucumber and your space is filled up. Now, I still have to go grocery shopping every single day because I buy 2 cucumbers and 2 tomatoes and my shelf space is filled. So one day, I'm going to have my own fridge. And you know you're getting old when this is the type of dreams you have and this is the type of things that excite you. My housemates and I, like an hour ago, we assembled our new dish rack, and I cannot begin to explain to you what the celebration and the monumental moment that was in our household. We were all so happy. And then, we even bought new hooks to put multiple towels in the kitchen instead of just one. And man, if you told this to my 15 or 16-year-old self, she would make fun of you for making this your dopamine source. But honestly, those little small things are actually so enjoyable because they affect your day-to-day on such a deep level. I don't know. I am getting old. I used to want to be a princess. I used to want to be a mermaid. I used to want to be a wizard. Now I just want a full-sized oven and a working heating system and a fridge to myself and a knife sharpener, because now I sharpen my knives on the back of my plates and it's ruining my plates. Like, those plates, they're old, they've seen worse, but still. But my diet is not the thing that pushed my sickness over the edge. Like, it's not a thing that pushed my health over the edge for me to become sick. I think that the thing that really was the last drop was a situation which really made it known that there's no chance I'm not going to be sick. So the other day, it was raining. And it was raining the entire day because, well, Netherlands. And it was raining including while I was going to work. And I was thinking about catching the bus, but I missed it. And the other one wasn't coming for 30 minutes. And it takes me 30 minutes to get to work by foot. So I thought I'll just walk, because if I wait for this one, I'll just be late for work. And now I know I have been living in the Netherlands for 3 years now, but I don't have a bike still. I find biking here so extremely terrible. I have biked multiple times. I've borrowed the bikes from my friends. I've rented bikes. It's just not for me. Because I feel like it is so much more dangerous than walking, because everybody bikes in a way which they think would secure their survival. And it's like they bike as if they only have one life. So it's kind of ironic that I never bike here, but whenever I go home, I bike for fun. I can bike. I just don't want to. Also, when you think about it, walking in the rain is much better than biking in the rain. I mean, yes, it takes longer, but then you can actually put your hood on and use an umbrella without the wind of the speed you're going blowing them off. Even if I don't have an umbrella, and I don't have an umbrella, I have been living here for 3 years now. I don't have an umbrella. I will not buy an umbrella. Nobody uses umbrellas here. It's either your hood that you put on or you simply suck it up. But still, even in that case, I would take walking in the rain over biking in the rain any day. Because like also biking in the rain on those bike lanes is dangerous because they're slippery. So anyways, so to me, biking in the rain doesn't seem too practical. And if I'm not doing it in the dry weather, I'm definitely not going to do it when it's raining. So I was walking to work in the rain. And this year, I was smart. I bought new jackets. New leather ones. Well, faux leather, because I'm very personally against using real leather. Like, you do you, I will not judge you, but I personally do not want to use real leather. I would never impose my beliefs on you. I would not judge you for not adhering to what I think is right. It's just that I cannot let myself go against the things I believe in. I fully recognize that different people see different things differently, see different things as appropriate. So I was, whatever. Let's not turn it into a PETA assembly. So basically, what I'm trying to get at without turning this into an animal rights podcast is I was wearing my waterproof clothes. That's the point. The thing is, however, the wind was so annoying that I still somehow got soaked. And I got soaked so badly that me working for 8 hours did not end up with me having dry clothes. I worked for 8 hours in soaked clothes because I didn't have any spare ones. And on my way back from work, I was fully finished because it was still raining. So then when I got home, I took a shower, but my heating doesn't work. And I went to the thermostat because here's the thing. My landlords are trying to save as much as possible. And this saving is a lot of the times at the expense of the quality of our life in the house. But I will get to this, don't worry. I have contacted them multiple times, like a plethora of times, about the heating because when they were trying to save expenses last year, they set a schedule for the heating and it basically works for literally an hour or two every day. And the rest of the time, it is so freaking cold. And last year, we didn't even have hot water for a month. So as you can imagine, I was sick all the time. And they didn't particularly care because why would they care? It's not the house that they're currently living in. So I went to the thermostat when I got home from work. And after the shift, I knew there was a potential of me being sick. So I wanted to turn on the radiators, but they weren't working because it was already past 11. And past 10, they simply stopped working until 7 in the morning. So I decided to try out and figure out the thermostat thing because it is a bit different than the one we have at home. So I didn't know how to operate it too well. And I tried to change the system settings. And when I went to check on the current settings, let me tell you that not only are the radiators on twice a day for an hour, that temperature being 20 degrees, but for the rest of the time, they are set to work at 15 degrees. So it's absolutely no surprise that I'm sick all the time and that I'm currently sick because if I go outside, it is warmer outside than it is in my room. And I fully get it. You're trying to save on the expenses, but I'm the one paying rent. And I'm much more willing to give you the money for heating instead of having to use that money for medicine. So I tried to change the settings. And yesterday was the first day it actually worked. And I'm so sick and tired of greedy landlords. And what is really making me even more sad is the fact that I will be fully reliant on landlords for the foreseeable future. And I just hope that wherever I end up, I can actually have decent people for my landlords and landlords who are understanding people. And yesterday, I went to the supermarket and I bought a net of lemons and I ate an entire lemon. And now after this episode, I will eat another entire lemon and I will keep on doing this until I get better. So honestly, if you're ever sick, and I hope you're never sick, but in the off chance that you are, I invite you to try it out. Usually it is a really fast remedy in my experience. I don't know if it also placebo effect contributing to it and I'm just convincing myself that it works. But every time I eat an entire lemon, no sugar, no nothing, just purely the lemon, I feel so much better. And honestly, it isn't as bad as you would imagine. I know that lemons are tricky and very sour, but at a certain point you just become numb. And don't start with the lemon is so bad for your teeth. I know. I fully know. I am aware, but I need it. And I cannot afford to be sick right now. I have my first day off in 2 months coming up, and I don't want to be sick during that. And I'm fully fine with not doing anything and still rotting in bed, but doing it because I want to, not because I have to. What an inconvenient time for me to crumble and fall. And let me tell you how stupid I am. So, my nose is stuffed, if I didn't mention it by now. And I went to the drugstore to buy a nose spray. Now, I was in a rush and I wasn't paying too much attention, and I ended up not buying a bottle with a spray attachment, but with a medical dropper attachment. And now I have to actually drop the solution in my nostrils instead of spray it, and it's sliding directly down my throat. And yesterday I nearly puked, and honestly, I feel like this isn't as effective as the spray one, so please be careful when you actually go and purchase medicine so that you don't end up like me. It's so fully terrible. And yesterday, after nearly throwing up because of those few drops that went down my throat, I could not get rid of the sensation for hours because it is a quite concentrated solution and it just burnt my throat for hours. I really don't mean to be a man who has a temperature of 37 degrees and then makes it everybody's problem. It is just like fully annoying, like the timing of my cold that I'm currently having. And I've been sneezing as if there is no tomorrow. Like my throat is a little bit dry and it's physically hurting me to talk. I don't know what's going on with me these 2 weeks because last week I burnt my entire mouth. Now my mouth is extremely dry and painful and itchy. So as you can tell, life is going great. I don't mean to complain. It's just annoying again because it is jeopardizing me going to work because I have 1 week of no classes because it's exam week. And in that week, I would be having the opportunity to work more hours so, I can pay rent. But the thing is, now that I'm sick and I work with food, I cannot afford to work sick. And it's just like really screwing me over. But maybe it's my body telling me that I need to rest. And also, it is very difficult to stay non-dizzy and actually prepare for my exams when I'm feeling like this. Although, I did technically have my last regular exam yesterday, from the regular exam period. Now we're waiting to see if I need to do the resits during that exam week that I just mentioned. And I'm so extremely anxious for statistics, guys. Oh my God. You know what? Let's not go down that rabbit hole again. But yesterday, during that last regular exam, I never thought that I would say this, but I actually enjoyed making that exam. And again, I never thought I would say anything like this in my entire life, but this course was extremely pleasant, and I spent a lot of time studying throughout the block, so actually by the time I had to prepare for the exam, it was completely and purely revision. And now I get why people say study every week. I get why they say study consistently and don't leave things for the last minute. It actually made things far more easier to deal with. Who would have thought? Definitely not me. No, but honestly, I really, really enjoyed this course. Not the group project that went with it, as we already know. It was kind of like consumer psychology related, and I just love psychology. Maybe in another lifetime I will become a psychologist, but this is a bit of a sore topic for me, so I don't want to dive too deep into it because, anyways, so yesterday one of my housemates, the one who has her own kitchen, found a mouse in her room. So I immediately contacted the landlords and I told them that the mice are back. And yes, I mean back because we've been dealing with this problem forever. And they told us to simply buy poison. Now let me tell you why poison won't work. First of all, we have been dealing with this infestation, so to call it, for years. If poison worked, which is what my housemates tried while I was in the UK, they also tried traps. The problem, if those things were effective in the long run, the problem would have been solved by now. But it clearly has not been solved. Second of all, most of our neighbors have pets, and the majority of them are cats. And if, let's say, a mouse eats poison and still goes away without having died yet, and a cat eats it, that cat will die too. And as a pet owner, I cannot imagine potentially harming any animal, which is also why I potentially don't want to personally use poison as well. And another reason I would not love to use poison for is because if the mouse dies in the walls or in the pipes or somewhere where we don't know where it is, the entire house will smell and it will attract God knows what other pest. And we would not be able to find it. And that environment of a rotting mouse corpse will just nourish a lot of diseases being spread in the air of the house. And who wouldn't love this? Also, imagine how traumatizing it will be to wake up to a dead mouse a meter away from your head. So I laid out all those reasons to my landlords, which is why I told them that we would much rather have this issue handled by pest control, so professionals, because it is something that I personally have brought up to my landlords over the course of 3 years. And what they told us is, we will give you 50 euros and you handle all other costs. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Dutch landlord/tenant relationship law, but these costs are not at the expense for the tenant, especially when they're substantial and when they're rooted in the structure of the house. And they are very much structural by nature, because if you look at our cupboards that are in the kitchen, you will be able to see that most of them are lacking the plank that is in the back of the cupboard. So those cupboards just simply are facing the wall, kind of. My cupboards in particular are ones through which pipes go, and there are holes around the pipes and the tiles. So there's literally no way I can block access to them because I cannot remove those pipes. And even if I filled up the holes around the pipe, there's still access from other points. There's literally no restriction to those mice. And the thing is, my landlords, when they installed the cupboards for the couple of cupboards that don't have a blank, like for the couple of cupboards that do have a back plank, they cut them out so terribly that they have these massive distances that are so unnecessary between what's supposed to be surrounding the pipe and what actually is the cutout. Another thing is that where our ventilation in the kitchen is supposed to go, so you know those fans that you usually put above the stoves. So yeah, they simply created a hole for this ventilator tube. I don't know what they're called in English, but you know what I'm talking about. So they created a hole for this tube that was supposed to go through there and never actually installed the tube. So now there's this literally 20 centimeter in diameter hole that is just gaping in the ceiling. Another thing is that above the bathroom door, there's a little door which leads to the roof of the house, and that door is broken and cannot be closed. So there are literally so many access points for mice and rats and God knows what other pests. And as you can see, none of those are due to our negligence or our fault, and it is the landlord's responsibility to fix them because this is how the house was provided to us, because it is all their property. Like, it is not our furniture, it is theirs. So after they told me that they're only going to give us 50 euros, I decided to call pest control and, do some investigation, so to call it, to see how much it's actually going to cost us. And they told me that pest control needs to come a minimum of 3 times, each time costing, simply the visit being 89 euros. Simply having a person from that organization in your house cost 89 euros. And if we actually want them not only to inspect, but enact some change, so take some measures to actually control the pest, we would have to pay extra. So that means that the entire thing will cost us for this house a minimum of 400 or 500 euros. So while I was at work, my landlords decided to come over to the house, and one of my housemates dealt with them. And God bless her heart, because if I were in her position, I would have literally yelled at them. She's so much stronger than me, and I respect her for this immensely. Basically, what they told her after inspecting to see if it is indeed structural reasons, and after seeing that it is actually structural reasons that are causing the mice infestation, they told her, and I quote, "We cannot do anything about this problem. You will just have to deal with this, and you cannot put poison because it is forbidden now, and you're just girls, and girls are just naturally scared of mice." And when I tell you that the second I heard my housemate's voice memo telling me that this is what they said, I got so angry. And it fully did not catch me in the best time, because I was already quite riled up because of work, and this literally tipped me over the edge. What do you mean you're not going to take responsibility for something that is your fault? Also, why are you making it a gender problem? What do you mean that we're simply girls, and because we are girls, we're afraid of mice? I'm sorry, would anybody, no matter what gender appropriation they have, be a tiny little bit worried, just a tad bit, that a mouse is shitting and walking and nibbling at their food, spreading God knows what diseases? That it is potentially going in their bed, going in their clothes? How would you not be scared? How would you not be concerned? How would you be okay living like this? Yeah, now you see why my housemate is much stronger than me, because I would have gone off at them. Basically, they told us to suck it up, and I'm sorry, but those are unlivable conditions. And you know what's really terrible about the situation? The fact that I simply cannot afford to move out, because, okay, I love my housemates. I love the house in the sense that it is cheaper compared to other places in the market right now. It is a very convenient location, and I have made it very homely in the past couple of years. So even if I wanted to move out, I also financially cannot afford to do it. And the lack of places in this city is making it even harder. If I wasn't afraid that they would out of spite evict me if I did it, I would totally be willing to reach out to a government wing that deals with these type of problems, because yesterday I actually ended up calling one of the government offices to see if what they're trying to do, so if them trying to contribute only 50 euros and make us pay for everything else is actually legal. Newsflash, it is not. The government confirmed it. The problem is due to structural reasons, and they actually advised us to turn to someone to write a legal letter to our landlords, and until that problem is solved, our rent will be lowered. However, I don't know if the government can protect us from being evicted if we do end up doing this, so I would rather not do it right now, because I financially cannot afford to move out. I am barely affording my rent as is, and it is a cheap place compared to the overall state of the market. And there aren't any places to go to. There aren't any free rooms. It's just the housing crisis is terrible here. And you unfortunately have to deal with what you have, and you cannot afford to complain or demand more. And landlords know this and are exploiting it to the max. But the government office that I called yesterday, they were shocked when I told them this situation that I'm currently facing. Because no matter how clean we keep the place, no matter how much we try to upkeep the house, those are things that are not dependent on us. Because the mice simply live in the walls and in the pipes. And because I told my landlords that the heating is not working, and I decided to take the matter in my own hands and fix the thermostat and actually increase the degrees from 15 to 21, I already told you. And you know what happened after that? So they made a really big deal out of this. Because how dare I? They ended up yelling at my housemate because, and I quote again, "I know you want to be warm, but it is very expensive, so you need to turn down the radiator to what it used to be." And my mind simply cannot comprehend this type of greediness. Because do you realize that in this rent that I'm paying, and it is an inclusive rent, so I'm already paying for gas, and I'm already paying for electricity, for water, for taxes, for everything. Everything is included in my rent. So I'm paying for gas and I don't have access to it. I'm paying for heating and I'm sitting here every night shivering. And I'm just so sick and tired of greedy landlords. Because I get it, you want this passive income. And that is totally great and good for you. And I get in this economy, it is rather shitty right now. And yes, it is expensive. But no one is asking you to pay my bills. If I'm using up more than you allocated for this, and you say, hey, you used 40 euros more this month, I'll just give you those 40 euros. I will totally be down to do this because the money you're trying to save up on heating is the money I end up spending on medicine. And that is just not a livable climate. No pun intended. I get it. Everybody's struggling financially. So am I. But have some common decency. No one is asking you to pay my bills. Because they raised our rent, but we've received nothing in return. I know you're trying to maximize profit and minimize costs as much as possible. I get it. I get that everything is expensive and the cost of living is terrible. But you can actually justify making rent more expensive if you are willing to invest in this house. And I cannot just be paying to get hot water, heating, and whatever, and not actually get them because this is making the place absolutely unlivable. I know maybe some of you are thinking that those are champagne problems, but those are actually real problems because I'm not allowed to buy a heater. But I don't give a damn anymore. If you don't want to see my gas consumption raise, you're going to see my electricity consumption raise because I'm going to use electricity to keep myself warm. I'm sorry, and I know that this is not also sustainable, but it's not sustainable to live in that cold of a house. My mind just cannot comprehend how people can be so ignorant and dismissive of other people's quality of life and threatening their quality of life simply to save up on money that is not life-changing money and money that I would not ask you to pay. If I'm using it, I'm going to pay for it. Also, I mean it in the sense that, yes, I'm a tenant here, and yes, I pay rent, and yes, this is my home currently, but it is still your own property. It is still the house you own because I'm renting from the private market. So it is a privately owned house. It is not through an agency. So why are you not willing to invest into making your house a better place to live at? Because, newsflash, if you invest in this house, you can actually have the justification to ask for more money from your tenants. And also, you have children and you have grandchildren. What happens if one day those people tell you, I want that house? In what right mind, in what state will you not be ashamed to give that house to the person you love? And you know why they don't care? Because even though it is their property, it is not the house that they occupy currently. And they know that we are so desperate because there's no other places we could go to in the city that we have no other choice but to actually put up with this. And I'm absolutely sure that if this was the house that they were living in, they would have never even ever let it come to this stage. They would not be willing to live in a cold house constantly. They would not be willing to constantly be sick to save up on some 50 or 100 euros a month that they would have to spend on medicine. They would not be willing to have their heating on for only an hour or two a day maximum, with the nights getting extremely cold and you just shivering in your duvet not knowing what to do. They would not be tolerating living with mice and telling each other to just suck it up because the mouse is more scared of you than you are of it, and because apparently fear of that animal is the most important fact about it occupying your space, not the fact that its feces and that its presence can create an environment in which disease is spread so easily. Oh, and you know what? Something else happened when they were talking about the heating. They said that us raising the temperature, literally only for a day, and wanting to be warm is what attracted the mice. So in order to get rid of the mice, we have to live in a temperature that is colder than the temperature outside. Because the mice, they're coming in the house because the house is warmer than the outside. So for us to get rid of the mice, we need to keep the house inside colder than the temperature outside. Can you imagine? I promise you that one day, hopefully, I will become a homeowner. And when that day comes, I will make my space extremely comfortable and extremely livable at the very least. And I will not ignore it like this, and I will not undermine the importance of any problem that arises. Don't even get me started on the window that I have been begging them to fix. The one they personally broke when they came to the house to check on something. So they're fully aware of what they're doing. And I always make sure that they know of any problems that arise as soon as they arise. And they just ignore them. And sure, it is annoying for me and my housemates as the people who live in the house. But also, they're not doing themselves a favor either. Because in the long run, fixing these problems would cost more than fixing them as they have just occurred. So, they're making not only our lives more difficult than they have to be, they're also making theirs more costly and difficult than they have to be. If you're not going to be a responsible landlord, don't be a landlord. If you don't know how to show up and do it, don't promise that you will. Don't sign a contract that legally obliges that you will if you're not going to adhere to it. Some people genuinely, I don't understand. Like, how do they survive? In the wild, how would they survive? How do such people manage to get to the position in life that they occupy without having any survival instincts or any basic knowledge about the human existence? And what really pisses me off is that I am dependent on those people. I am not saying that I'm anything better than them in any way, shape, or form. There's a reason they're the ones I'm paying rent to and not the other way around. Well, the reason being that they bought this house for pennies, and now this house in the current state of the market would cost €500,000. But that's on me for being in kindergarten in 2008 and not actually purchasing property. My bad, sorry. Man, the life of a young person in the 21st century is so fun and funny. And I don't mean to play the victim. It is just I feel like we as a generation, and this is just a small instance compared to what's going on globally, but we as a generation have to pick up all the pieces from the ignorance to the future of the older generations. But let's not get right into this now. I just really hope that those people somehow come to their senses, because trust me, they would not be loving it if it was happening to them, if it was happening to their children, if it was happening to their grandchildren. So why are you willing to feed me to the mice? Literally, how are you not embarrassed to even say that we simply have to come to terms with it? How are you not embarrassed to not take accountability for the way you structured a space which made it welcoming to that type of pest, and which made it very difficult for us to renovate, and actually financially simply impossible, even if we're being truthful? Because All of us living here are poor students, and it is not our responsibility to strip down the house and renovate it from top to bottom. Of course, if you're going to do renovations, raise the rent. But make sure that you actually improve the space. And as you can imagine, my parents are really mad at this situation, as am I, if you haven't noticed yet. And you know what? People can say whatever about Eastern Europe people. People can say whatever about the Balkans. But I have never in my life heard anything like this about someone who rents from the private market and turns to their landlord, and their landlord being so extremely dismissive. Now I'm just ashamed to invite someone over. I mean, how would I, in my right mind, be okay with inviting someone over and exposing them to this environment when I myself am not comfortable in this environment? But you know what? I won't solve this problem right now. And unfortunately, I myself cannot solve it as it stands. But I can complain about it. And complaining about it definitely made me feel far better. But now my throat is begging me to shut up or I will lose my voice as well. So with that being said, thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, even though I literally trauma dumped on you very significantly. And still, I hope to see you in the next one, where I hopefully will feel better, at least physically. Until then, hopefully I won't freeze to death, and hopefully the mice won't nibble on my feet when I sleep. But you guys, stay hydrated, wear sunscreen, and don't support genocide. Bye!